Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're working through the Edexcel GCSE Maths Foundation Paper 3 from November 24. I'll explain each question step by step as we go. Let's begin. So question 1. Write down the value of the 7 in the number 3,721. Well, the way we say it, if we read the question out loud in our head, we're saying 3,721. In this case, with this number, we're actually saying what that digit is, which is 700. The 100 unit, which is 700. Okay, question 2. Work out 1/6 of 96. When I see 1/6 of 96, I think divide by 6. Okay, so all this is 96 divided by 6, which in this case, you have got a calculator, so feel free to use a calculator. This is 16. Question 3. Write down 2 factors of 16. The main word here to note is factors. Factors divide exactly into 16 with no remainder. So important to not mix this up with multiples. The factors of 16 divide exactly into it. So in this case, all the factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. Because 1 times 16 is 16, 2 times 8 is 16, and 4 times 4 is 16. So the answer, you can put any 2. So you could put 16 and 8 if you wanted to. Question 4, write the following numbers in order, start with the lowest number. Now sometimes negatives can be tricky, as you've got 2 negative numbers here. So what I'd do is I'd just draw a number line like this, put 0 in the middle, and go this way and this way. What's a 1, 2, 3, and they're minuses, so -1. Okay, and then we look at this and we'd say, okay, so 0 is here, so that's in the middle. Okay, 4 is this direction, so it's actually over here, so we'll put 4 next. And 6 is bigger, so 6 in the positive numbers is bigger. And then when we go backwards here, we can see that as we're going backwards, we're going -1, -2, -3. So we're counting the other way. So in this case, -3 is lower than 0, but -7 is further this way than -3. So this, starting with the lowest number, which would actually be on the number line, the lowest one's -7. So this would be the order. There you go. Question 5, find the value of the square root of 2.25. So the square root means that a number times itself is going to equal this. And we need to find what that number is. In this case, we can just use our calculator, and we just use the square root button here, and make sure we put the decimal point in, so we do 2.25. And if you click equals, it will give you the fraction or the decimal. And in this case, you can do 3/2 or the decimal, which is 1.5 there. So you can put whichever one in, 3/2 or 1.5. So question 6, solve x plus x plus x plus x equals 20. Now, x plus x plus x plus x is actually 4x. 4 times x, because you get 1, 2, 3, 4 x's, equals 20. So if you rewrite it like this, it'll make it a lot easier for us, because now we're just going to figure out what x is. And to do that, we can just divide both sides by 4. Everything either side of the equal sign, we have to do the same thing. Divide this side by 4 and you just get x. Divide 20 by 4 and you get 5. So the answer there is 5. Okay, question 6b, solve y plus 7 equals 24. In this case, we've got a +7 here that we want to get rid of. And to get rid of it, we want to do the opposite of add, which is subtract. So if we subtract 7 from both sides, we're then left with just y here. And 24 minus 7 is 17. Put 17 there. Okay, question 6c, solve w divided by 2 equals 4. In this case, we want to clear this fraction. And to clear this fraction, on this side, we're going to multiply by 2. Whenever you see a number underneath the algebra, you want to multiply by 2. So you multiply both sides by 2. You get W equals 4 times 2, which is 8. Okay, moving on to question 7. Here is a quadrilateral. Write down the special name for this quadrilateral. Well, we know it's quadrilateral because it's got 4 sides, but important to note is that it's got 2 sides that are parallel and 2 sides that aren't. This makes it a trapezium. Okay, question 7b. On the grid below, draw a right angle triangle. You can draw this whichever way you want, as long as it's got a 90-degree angle in there, which means as long as one is going downwards, and then it goes perpendicular like this, and then obviously use your ruler for this. It's probably a good idea. Like that. But you could also do this here, would still be a right angle triangle as well. Okay, moving on to question 8. Nina orders some items from a DIY shop. Here is her bill. Okay, so we've got 4 of this equals this, 2 of this equals blank, and some amount of this equals this. Complete all of this information. Okay, well, we're looking in this table for parts of it where one value is missing. We've got one value missing on this row, one value missing on this row, but we've got 2 values missing on this row, so we can't figure this one out yet. But if we go to this first one, we know that 4 times £29.99 is £119.96. So it's this times this equals this. So 2 times £24.95, and just get your calculator, and we do 2 times £24.95, and then change it to decimal, is £49.90. And here we're doing the opposite. So this something times this equals £232.50. So if we go backwards and the opposite of multiply is divide, we do £232.50 divided by 775, we'll get the answer. So £232.50 divided by 7.75. Be careful with the decimals here and make sure they're in the right places. So £232.50 divided by £7.75 equals 30. And in this case, you probably expect the quantity to be a whole number. So if you get a decimal place for this, you'd expect that a DIY shop wouldn't be selling a part of a wooden plank, like 3.2 wooden planks. So if you've got a whole number here, that's good. Okay, and then we can finally figure out the total column, the total cost here, which is just everything here added together. So if we do that here, we do 119.96 plus £49.90 plus, just be careful with the decimals, I nearly messed that up then, £232.50 plus £14.95, and then the decimal is £417.31. Again, if you got a long string of decimals here, it wouldn't make sense as everything here is in pence, so it won't make a long string of decimals. Okay. Question 8b. At the beginning of January, Jeff had £892.48 in his bank account. During January, Jeff had £4.47 interest added to his account, paid £240 into his account, and spent £365.50 from his account. How much money did Jeff have in his account at the end of January? So this question, we're looking at what each of these values is doing to this amount. This is the amount that he has. So we've got £892.48. And you could type that in your calculator as well if you want to follow. And then had £4.47 interest added to his account, so added. So we're going to add £4.47. Just be careful with the decimals. That's a 4. So add £4.47, and then we're also going to, he was paid £240 into his account, so this adds as well. So we're going to add £240, and there's no pence on this, so I'll just put 00. And then he spent spent from his account £365.50. So then we're going to take away £365.50. So we do all this in our calculator step by step. £892.48 plus £4.47 for the interest, plus £240 for the money added into his account, minus £365.50, which equals £771.45. Question 9. There are 200 people at a party. 2/5 of the people are children, the rest of the people are adults. 35% of the children are vegetarian, 45% of the adults are vegetarian. How many of the people are not vegetarian? Okay, so we want to work this through in small steps. There's a lot of information here. The first thing to do would be to work out how many children and adults there are at the party. So in this case, 2/5 of the people are children. So we need to find out what 1/5 is. We divide 200 by 5. It equals 40. So 40 equals 1/5. So 2/5 will equal 2 times this. So 2/5 equals 80. And then we can do this 2 different ways. We can multiply this by 3 to get the remaining 3/5, or we can do the 200 people. We can do 5/5 minus 2/5, which is 200 minus 80 equals 120. So there's 80 children and 120 adults. There we go. So now we need to figure out what percentage of the children are vegetarian. It's 35%. So 35%, as a decimal, we just divide that by 100 and we get 0.35. So if we just multiply this by the amount of children, we find out how many are vegetarian. So 0.35 times 80 equals 28 are vegetarian. And the same thing again with the 45% of adults. So this is 0.45, which is 45 divided by 100, times 120. So we go on here, 0.45 times 120, 54. So 54 are vegetarian and adults. And then it says how many of the people are not vegetarian. Now we have here, these two figures are how many of all the people are vegetarian. So what we can do is we can add them together. So 54 plus 28, and we could do that on our calculator to make it easy, is 82. So 82 people are vegetarian, but we're looking for what people are not vegetarian. And there's 200 people at the party. So we do 200 minus 82. 200 minus 82 equals 118. So if 82 people are vegetarian, then the total minus the vegetarians is the people that aren't vegetarian, which is 118. Question 10. Here is part of a timetable between Horwich and Manchester. It goes this direction like this. How long should the 7:46 train from Horwich take to get to Salford? Okay, so what we're looking at, this is when you get on the train, and this is when it arrives at Manchester. So we're going from this figure here, from Horwich, 7:46, this one, and we're going to see how long it takes to get to Salford. So it arrives at Salford at 8:05. So 7:46 to 8:05. Okay, so how much time is that? Well, it's 60 minutes in an hour, so if we add here, there's 14 more minutes until 8 o'clock. 14 minutes to 8, and then 5 extra minutes. So add an extra 5, and we get 19 minutes. Barney has a job interview in Manchester. Barney takes 6 minutes to walk from his home to the station in Lowestoft. He will take 8 minutes to walk from the station in Manchester to his interview. Barney needs to be at the interview no later than 9 a.m. what is the latest time Barney can leave his house and be on time for his interview? Well, you can do this with trial and error by starting at the times, but the best way to do this is to work backwards from the interview. So it needs to be interviewed no later than 9. It takes 8 minutes to walk from the station in Manchester to his interview. So 9 minus 8 is, well, in this term, it's 8:52 a.m. So 8:52 a.m. he needs to be off the train at this time at Manchester. So let's look at the arrival times here. 8:45, and we're just working backwards. So this is the train that he needs to get. And going backwards, he's going from Lowestoft to Manchester. So we go Manchester to Lowestoft. And Lowestoft, that train, he gets on that train then at 8:17. So 8:17 boarding. And then from there, we can take 6 minutes he takes to walk to the station. So if we do 8:17 a.m. minus 6, we get 8:11 a.m. And working backwards like that, we figure out that the time that he needs to leave to be on time for the interview is 8:11 a.m. Question 10 part B. The time of Barney's interview has changed. Now he has to be at the interview no later than 9:15. What effect does the change of time have on the latest time Barney can leave the house? Okay, so let's look at this. So currently he's leaving at 8:11 and getting the 8:17 train. Can he arrive at 9:15? Oh, it looks like there is one that arrives at 9:15, but that would be too late. So he'd still have to get the 8:45. And even if he could get this train, there's no train arriving at Lowestoft here. So the answer is that it'd have no effect. There'd be no effect on the change of time if it was 9:15. He'd still be in the same train. That's the end of part 1 and questions 1 to 10. Part 2 will cover questions 11 onwards. If you found this helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 2.